It's Wednesday night. You know what that means. It is the post AEW Dynamite Wrestling Inc. podcast with your three favorites on a Wednesday night. Good evening, everybody. If you're with us live, good afternoon, good evening, good night, good morning, whatever it is. If you're checking us out sometime on the archive around the world, we appreciate it. I am Justin LaBar coming to you from Pittsburgh, Pennsylvania. 72 degrees today on seasonable February 15th.
Nice.
Up north in Toronto, Ontario, Canada. He is former WWE referee of 20 plus years, Mr. Jimmy Korderas. And down in the beautiful Puerto Rico, it is the one, the only, the Demon Diva, Issa. Ladies first, Issa, how are you tonight?
I'm doing great. How are you two doing?
It's a Wednesday night. I'll leave it at
Yeah,
that. Jimmy,
yeah.
how are you?
Yeah, I mean, as good as can be. Let's put it that
I've been
way.
drinking, so that might affect the way that I feel.
Oh, awesome. Cool. Now I'm looking more forward to tonight.
Well, that means happy thoughts come, happiness, happy things come out, right?
I mean, it helps me. He helped me survive the show.
Well, so I'll say this about tonight's Dynamite. There were certainly things that I shook my head at. There was also some things that I said to myself, finally, we are getting on a nice track if this is the avenue we're going to go down. So there were some things to take away. So certainly, as with everything, good, bad, and I'm sure amongst the three of us, indifferent in some places. Before we get into Dynamite tonight from Laredo, Texas, let's go ahead and touch on some news. First, we will start with some news here regarding Ring of Honor. Obviously, Tony Khan purchased Ring of Honor last year. That was big news. A lot of we saw the crossover of Ring of Honor on AEW programming, Dynamite and Rampage. A lot of us wondering when is Ring of Honor going to get its own regular distribution? And in an interview with Sports Illustrated, Tony Khan has given us some dates to put on the calendar. He's saying that Ring of Honor TV is coming Thursday, March 2nd. On Honor Club. We're going to have the first tapings on February 25th and 26th at Universal Studios in Orlando. Honor Club, excuse me. Of course, their version, just to put it, their version of a network. How WWE has their network on Peacock. Honor Club, behind the paywall, you get, I think, unlimited archives to Ring of Honor. I believe it is $9.99 a month or $90, or you can do an annual fee. But so finally, we have destination for Ring of Honor weekly programming. Issa, I mean, is that will you be tuned? Are you going to pay $9.99 a month, or do you already pay $9.99 a month?
I don't. I don't already pay the $9.99 a month. If you're going to split this roster and put the Ring of Honor roster here to where I can only see them here, I will consider it. But if I'm going to see them in AEW television and I'm going to get a recap of what's up with them in AEW television, I wouldn't see the point in investing the money on that. Maybe for a pay-per-view, but outside of that, as of right now, no. Unless you're planning on splitting it to where that is exclusive. I think you can get Peacock for cheaper than that. And we're talking WWE, we're talking WrestleMania, Royal Rumble. So you gotta, these are the times are hard right now, LaBar. So we gotta consider and be very picky about where we spend our money.
Oh no, I'm right there with you. Hard times, Daddy, for some in the situations. Jimmy, do you feel the same? Would you be more inclined to invest in Honor Club if Claudio, Samoa Joe, Wheeler Yuta, Athena, Mark Briscoe, if all those who are attached to Ring of Honor or have titles, if you could only see them on Honor Club and they were not being sprinkled into Dynamite or Rampage, would that be more of a selling point to you?
It would be more of a selling point, but at this point, there is so much wrestling out there right now. It's going to be tough to sell this. You're going to get the diehards, the really, really, entrenched diehards to tune in, but are there going to be enough of them to keep this thing afloat? Unfortunately, yes, the streaming stuff is the way of the future, as people are saying. But right now, when you look at it from a business standpoint, the money is still in television. It's just too bad they couldn't get some kind of a television deal, whether it was on one of the Turner networks. I always look forward to seeing something happen on a Saturday at 6:05. Just like the old days, kind of like a throwback, but at the same time, even a syndicated television deal, I think, would have been more beneficial in this case. But to your original point, yes, I think keeping the ROH roster completely separated and segregated from the the rest of the AEW roster will help it, I think, a little bit, but will it be enough? I don't.
Well, and that's if they do that. That's
Right.
if, and based upon Tony Khan's love to integrate the Ring of Honor, the AEW crossovers with New Japan, crossovers with AAA. I have a hard time seeing him keeping them exclusively behind the Honor Club paywall. I mean, I guess it adds a little bit of value. You assume. I don't think he specified this in the SI interview, but I assume whatever Ring of Honor pay-per-views they have moving forward would, of course, it would only make sense to move them behind the Honor Club paywall as well, I would think, to add value to that subscription. But we'll have to wait and see. Keeping with the news of what's going on behind Tony Khan, or under Tony Khan's umbrellas, rather. This one involving Thunder Rosa. She's recently returned to being on the road with AEW. She's been out for some time with injury. Of course, she had to vacate that women's title at one point. She's resurfaced back on the road. She's been doing some of the Spanish language commentary for them. So just getting her back in the fold before she is physically ready to compete. Fightful Select, however, is also reporting that maybe a bit of a backstage summit, as they called it, occurred on the February 8th, on February 8th before they did Dynamite. And basically, Fightful's reporting that this was a gathering of some of the ladies in the locker room and to maybe try to work out any tension or issues that may or may not be there between some parties and Thunder Rosa. And this is dating back to allegations, so to speak, coming of, maybe this lady said that she was working stiff, or this person was saying this is why she's doing this, or this on her behavior. So nonetheless, Fightful Select reporting there was some tensions at one point, but is saying that this supposed gathering was productive and positive, and even perhaps a clean slate is the phrasing they use for the ladies to move forward. Jimmy, locker rooms are very funny. Pro wrestling locker rooms, you have to have immense trust in the other person, but you're also still very ego filled. You're still very everybody wants to be the best. Everybody wants to be number one. So that can bring about some tension. I think good news here that if this happened, and I believe Fightful Select have a pretty good track record, that if this happened, that the conclusion was positive.
Well, if that's it, like you said, if it is true that they did have this meeting and the outcome was pretty much positive, then I like what they did. I like the fact that they brought this, to the forefront. Whereas, back in the day, it used to be settled in different terms. When you had a problem with somebody, you had a problem with somebody, and sometimes it got a little physical outside the ring. Let's put it in behind closed doors. Let's put it that way. I like the fact that they brought this together. They said, "Hey, let's hash this out. Let's get this done." And like you said, from all accounts, it appears to be positive. And even from Thunder Rosa's standpoint, it looked like she reached out to I guess what's the phrase I'm looking for here? Oh my goodness, it's escaping me. Brought out the flowers, so to speak. Initiated the peace summit, so to speak. So that I like that, and it's a good way to do things, especially in today's day and age where things have changed, and maybe the old method of settling locker room disputes is not the way to go anymore, unless you're holding wrestler's court.
Okay, but wait, Jimmy, did you ever have to ref any of this outside of the ring, behind closed doors, physical encounters? Did they require a referee? Did you ever ref any of them? Tell us, Jimmy.
Let me put it to you this way. I have witnessed a few in my day, and I'm not going to throw these people's names on it, but I would let the other talent help calm the issue down. I didn't think it was my place to get in there because let me put it this way. I probably would have got my butt kicked for sticking my nose.
But you were able to be part of the audience in these particular cases, basically.
Yeah, pretty much. A lot of times it was when it got like that and the tensions got high, it was sometimes one of those deals where let me go see if I could find another big guy to help ease tensions. Let's put it that way.
Right. Got it.
Rocky Patel, was this the phrase you're looking for, Jimmy? She extended the olive branch.
That's the one.
Phrase.
There you
That's
go.
a great phrase.
And especially from a guy from Greek descent, it was not coming up with the olive branch thing. Come on.
Well, and here's the thing, Jimmy, as you talk about the old days and how this would have been handled once upon a time. Again, this is all. None of the three of us were present for this February 8th summit. This is all just us going off again what Fightful Selectors reporting, but I don't know about you guys. I have pretty good faith in them that something like this happened. I wonder. I don't know who initiated what. I don't know who spoke first, whatever. But you talk about the olden days. It was just 6 months ago when something called Brawl Out took place, and so I have to wonder whether it's management, whether it's the boys and girls in the locker room, or a combination of both. If somebody can sense, look, if there's some tension or problems with somebody and she's coming back on the road, let's nip this in the bud. Let's get out in front of it before we get a press conference going rogue. You know what I mean? So I wonder, and if that's the case, a bravo to any and all in AEW who recognize that, because that's the only way you can grow from crazy incidents like that, is just not to let it happen again. So I don't know, but
I'm with you, and from a different perspective, coming from somebody that has actually watched this product with the Spanish commentary on, I do think it could use some improvement. And I do think, coming from somebody that's, that's passionate about that's the fan base that she appeals to, I do think that having her in the Spanish commentating aspect of things while she heals is a winning move for everybody.
Sure, absolutely. Raymond Velasquez, Bonilla, you guys are great. Keep up the great job. Thank you.
Thank you. And if I can, because I just thought of one instance, I will give a name, but not the people who were involved. But let me just put it to you this way: I happened to be in the locker room, a TV taping one day where a Hall of Fame tag team got into it with each other. Let's just put it that way, and it looked like they were going to get. And William Regal was in the room. William Regal got, and Regal trying to calm things down. Gentlemen, please calm down. And I stood up, and I'm like, what do I do? Do I get in there? Do I help? And then Regal looks at me and goes, Jimmy, quietly go outside and find some help, please. So I stepped out of the locker room. I ran into a couple of guys and said, hey, can you go help William Regal in there? He needs a hand. So they ran in there, and I just stayed outside. I didn't see what happened after that.
I love that.
But the way you said it was so calm. It was like, Jimmy, would you mind stepping outside and quietly get some help, please?
Quietly get some help.
Yes.
How do you quietly get some help? Do you send smoke signals? Do you like?
It was basically, don't let anybody from the office find out.
Got it.
Because then the two tag teams that are getting ready to kill each other are going to turn, and they're all going to put their focus on you.
No, it was one tag team against each other. Like,
they were partners, and they just had a beef for some reason. I don't know.
And they're in the Hall of Fame.
Yep.
I know. I'm over here. I'm over here googling Hall of Fame tag team.
and the only thing I could say was the next night at TV, and one of the members was, "Hey, Jimmy, did you have fun last night?" I said, nope. And then I was told, if this thing gets out to the wrong sheets, I will be asking questions. I said, don't look at me. I don't talk to those people. Well, I do now, but that's this is the only one I talk
live. I respect that.
Yeah.
I was going to say, you got a microphone now on one here.
Yeah, exactly.
All right. Looking at some super chats already coming through. Regarding AEW Dynamite, Sheet Black $1.99 saying AEW was not good tonight. It was a filler episode, and you say that, and we're a couple weeks out from Revolution. We finally started getting matches actually made. Funny enough.
Yeah. Okay. How many matches get made? There's one match in the card. This pay-per-view is 2 weeks away. We had 3 months to build it. There's no time to be having no filler filling episode right now.
Well, I mean, I don't want to get ahead of ourselves, but when we have what we see Moxley and Paige, and we have the tag team situation, and I mean, that's
great. All rematches, basically. That's what you're saying. We're gonna get 4 months waiting for a pay-per-view to watch rematch of matches that we've seen on free television for the last 3 months. That's what you're saying, right?
I can't argue there.
Okay.
Tina Miller with $10. Thank you, Tina. She says, I love AEW, I really do, but I'm tired of the nothing burger matches and the nonsensical segments. I'm tired of the ones I'm emotionally invested in. Cough, Eddie Kingston. Not being on TV, AEW is chaos. Well, I mean, Kingston, just on his situation, I mean, he's certainly for whatever you're missing him on Dynamite, he's certainly not leaving any boredom on social media. I'll say that.
Not at all.
No. And Tina, I understand what you're saying, especially when it comes to my old throwback when I keep saying 20 pounds of potatoes in a 10-pound bag.
Yeah.
When can we upgrade that bag?
I don't know.
When do you get to buy a new bag?
either a new bag or you just gotta just stick with the potatoes that fit.
The problem is that they keep upgrading the bag, but they still stick to the same amount of pounds. You know what I mean? Like, they should get a bigger bag, but they're not doing that.
Right.
I'm with Tina here. I understand where she's coming from. We're all asking, where's the beef?
Swedish made and larger pumps. This sort of thing is my bag, baby. By
Yeah.
Austin
Okay.
Danger Powers.
Okay.
Little Austin Powers reference there. This my bag, baby. All right, let's go ahead and get into Dynamite. But I do want to start on the serious note, the same way that they started, with the in memoriam and the unfortunate passing of a legend in the pro wrestling business, one Jerry Jarrett, passing away at age 80. So a full life indeed. Of course, Jerry Jarrett, best known for his days as a promoter, co-booking the Memphis territory with Jerry the King Lawler. And that's, I say that we could do an entire podcast all night long going through Jerry Jarrett's career, contributions, and effect that he had on the wrestling business and then the individual people. But we don't have all that tonight. But obviously, if you want to know more about Jerry, if you don't know about him, please do a good deep dive and Google on him. But certainly an unfortunate news of his passing, and his son Jeff Jarrett would get to wrestle tonight and honor his late father. This is just days after, or actually, I think just a day. I think he officially passed away yesterday.
A day. It's been a day. And before we get into the actual show, all the respect to Jeff Jarrett for coming out there and doing what he did. I did think there was a little bit of nostalgia to the fact that we started the show with the graphic and it immediately hit to Jeff Jarrett's music. I can only show him my uttermost respect for being able to come out there and do that. So props to him.
Yep,
Jimmy, I don't know when we'll get to talk about Jerry Jarrett again. So let's go ahead and take at least a few moments on it. I'm sure you have had met him in dealings with him, because if I'm correct, Jerry Jarrett in the early and mid 90s was a behind the scenes figure, or at least consulting or with WWF in the 90s. Am I mistaken?
There was an affiliation there. Let's put it that
Okay,
way. And he was working with them, and I got to meet him a couple of times. A great gentleman, and smart man. When you talk about the territory days and one of the best territories around, he booked some fantastic television. The Memphis territory back in those days was probably one of the best television shows out there. And it's too bad that it didn't get a wider spread across the United States and Canada. We didn't get to watch it here. I got the privilege of seeing all that stuff on there used to be this thing called VHS, and I would get these tapes, and I just loved the show. And he was just phenomenal, and his son learned from one of the best ever. So that's why Jeff has been able to be as successful as he's been over the years as well, because he listened to his dad and was, a sponge just like he was.
Yeah, obviously Memphis is what Jerry gets associated with. In Memphis, if you're not, again, if go back and find some, or however you can, Memphis, if you ask many of the ECW originals, they'll tell you they were just an updated version of what the Memphis territory did and established, and hence why it was kind of so poetic that Jerry Lawler was such a anti-ECW foil that was used by the promotion at times as a crossover with WWE. Jerry Jarrett, again, behind the scenes, had some affiliation with WWF at the time. Was part of the launching of NWA TNA, which of course has evolved to TNA and Impact Wrestling. Just really wild when you think of all of that. I mean, you can argue he's up there in a very short list. Obviously, Vince McMahon probably being a number one, but he's in a very short list of promoters and people in the business that had the impact they did. Crazy times. But again, thoughts and prayers with the entire Jarrett family. But as we noted, his son, Jeff Jarrett, coming right out and is going to be part of this opening 8-man tag. It is Jeff Jarrett alongside Jay Lethal, Sanjay Dutt, and Satnam Singh going up against Orange Cassidy, The Acclaimed, and Billy Gunn. The Acclaimed, of course, doing their rap. They have a little bit of history with Jeff Jarrett already, but they did pay some brief respect to Jerry Jarrett and the rap, which I thought was pretty cool. As we get into this match here, a lot of moving parts, but we get a visual for a moment of Satnam Singh. Definitely, I believe, his first match on Dynamite. We get the visual of him standing, well, breast to nose with Orange Cassidy, just towers over him. We get Billy Gunn and Jeff Jarrett, two guys who don't let age define them. Ultimately, though, we're going to get a finish. This is where this is a variety show. It's a buffet. This finish took about a minute to execute, and it was them. It was Max Caster holding down Sonjay Dutt in this on his back with his legs up, and every single person elsewhere in the match tried to come in, and they foiled the other one. And finally, Anthony Bowens hits the scissor me, a finish move, basically a leg drop to Sonjay's lower region, and the win goes to the Acclaimed and the baby faces. Jimmy, your takeaway on this smorgasbord of action.
They're trying to cram too much stuff into this match. I get it. It's an 8-man tag. There's a lot of individuals, and you're trying to get certain individuals over in the match, and others you're trying to get heat on, hopefully getting heat. But nobody came out of this looking any better. Let's put it that way. It was just a match for the sake of having a smorgasbord of stuff going on. It was a lot of chaos. Some of it was like, oh, that was cool. But at the end of the day, what did it do for anybody, really? Who benefited? And that's the main thing coming out of this match. Who benefited? And I wish I had a good answer for you.
Issa, did anybody advance themselves for you in this match?
No, you finish AEW Dynamite with such a last week with the questionable finish that left everybody in a what just happened of the Acclaim losing the titles to the Gun Club. Now, I will take into consideration that nobody watches Rampage. You choose to open with this. If you're only a Dynamite viewer, are you not going to be confused? Why is the Acclaim teaming up with Orange Cassidy here to take on these guys? They should be chasing after the Ass Boys and wondering why they don't have their tag titles anymore. Nothing makes sense here. You have Orange Cassidy holding a singles title that we're setting no feud for when Revolution is 2 weeks away. Nobody looked good. This was, you know what? The only thing that was on brand is that it was ass. Everything was ass here.
I have to wonder if this was an audible call to do this because by Jeff's request or Tony or whoever, and this is just what they came up with because then the rest of the night we see the Acclaimed, the Gun Club. They do come out at one point when their dad's in the ring and try to cause a distraction, and then we come to find out later in the night that it's going to be the Gun Club defending the tag title in a triple threat, but then no, Acclaim says it's going to be a fatal four because they're exercising their rematch clause. So they definitely still have the Acclaimed in the tag team title picture, which just makes this opening match seem that much more random. But I have to just wonder and think that this was an audible call to appease a request maybe of Jeff Jarrett to have a match that he could dedicate to his father. I don't know.
They made the save Friday night on Rampage. The Acclaim came out and made the save on Rampage to when Jeff Jarrett and Jay Lethal attacked whoever they were attacking. I can't even recall it, and I covered that show as well. So that's why it was here. But it made no sense if you look at the viewership from Dynamite compared to Rampage. There's going to be a lot of people wondering why is this happening. So I don't think it was an audible just because of the fact that they did put the Acclaim in the storyline as of Friday. But when you look at the viewership that Rampage did, how many people are going to be aware of that going into tonight's show? Not a lot.
Well, that's the story of the entire company is how many people are aware of what happened on Rampage if it's meant to have relevance here. John Silver's uncle chiming in with a super chat saying Tony critiqued the booking of you're right there, Issa. Tony critiqued the booking of Raw and repetitive matches. Maybe the dude should try a people in glass houses match. Maybe mix it up a bit by giving Moxley a challenge not to bleed in that one. We'll get to that. We'll get to that in a minute.
I not all 3 hours, but I will say the majority of Monday Night Raw, I enjoyed this week.
Well, and I also I don't know. I assume that Tony made that critique whenever he did in an interview, probably pre Triple H regime, because that was the theme of Raw.
That's probably around the same time where Jericho said that they were going to reach Raw viewership in a few months, right? Remember that?
Yeah.
Okay.
that graph projection didn't quite
It didn't go as planned.
didn't quite stick with.
Right.
Terry Allen Jr. Hello, Justin. Is the family doing really good? Yes, everybody's doing good. Thank you for asking. All right, so up next we get a we're in Laredo, Texas. I don't think I mentioned that. We're in Laredo, Texas. So Texas Tornado tag match.
Insert joke here.
Yes, I know.
Sorry.
The special rule stipulates that in this match only, everybody's allowed to be in the ring at the same time.
Jimmy, were you happy about this?
I was like, so how is this different from any other tag match? But anyway, I digress. Continue, Justin.
Okay.
Sal has a chat. He says, I'm convinced Tony Khan books his shows by pulling names out of a hat and putting them in random matches with no build. That makes me think of this is the real. Now I feel like Glenn. This is a real obscure reference. If anybody ever watched the Damon Wayans '90s movie Blank Man, there's a guy in the movie. He runs like the news station. And they run like the cheap tabloid news station. They come up with all the crazy stories. Aliens for whatever, sleeping with whatever. And he basically goes and he takes a dart and he just throws it against the index cards to make the headline of the story they're going to have. That's the visual I have with Sal's comment, is Tony's just throwing darts to figure out who's going to go where.
I wouldn't have an issue with the throwing darts booking if we weren't 2 weeks from a pay-per-view. When you have 4 pay-per-views a year and you have months to build it. Let's say you just had a pay-per-view and we still don't have to worry about booking that for 3 months. Throw darts. But when you are 2 weeks away and tickets are not moving as of right now, this is not the show that you should be booking. That's all I'm saying.
Yeah. Choo-choo shot. Issa is hot. Like there's like a little.
It is about 84 degrees in here right now. Actually.
There we go. And yes, night one picked up my Blank Man reference. Okay, so here we go. So Texas Tornado. Everybody can be in the ring at the same time. We got Roosh and Preston Vance up against Jon Moxley and Claudio Castagnoli. This match starts with the heels jumping Moxley and Claudio in the crowd, which I'm actually okay with, because I've always thought this. If you know that you're going to have these baby faces that are going to make an entrance to the crowd, why would you not then use that piece of intel and sneak attack them? So I like that. There's chairs, there's chains, and of course, death, taxes, and Jon Moxley bleeding is what we have going on here. At one point, Jose the assistant gets involved. Wheeler Yuta comes out, attacks him, runs him off. That's the theme of the night as well. Finally, Jon Moxley is going to choke Vance with the chain and then transition into an armbar variation for the submission. So Moxley and Claudio get the win, and we do see backstage Hangman Page watching the monitor, still interested in Jon Moxley, and all the while he's doing that, he gets attacked by Butcher Blade and Kip Sabian, setting up a tease for the match later in the night between Page and Sabian. A lot going on here, Issa. I mean, where do you want to go from here? This obviously sets up later for Moxley later in the night, but did you like this match? Was it entertaining, or is this Moxley blood stuff getting too repetitive?
Are we going to give him a shout out for doing the blood stuff during the commercial break so we don't catch it on camera? I mean, that's an improvement.
Well, it was picture in picture. I don't know if I don't know if the camera caught it or not. But yeah, at least
harder to catch it.
Smaller window.
Look, I do a watch along live for this show, so I'm watching it with a group of people. And the first thing that I had to point out is that a lot of people in my watch along party had no clue who half of the people in this match were. And that is a fact. It was on the chat, and I'm there as well. Yes, the blood stuff is getting repetitive. Everybody's bleeding. I have no idea that this was a tornado match. And I don't know that it was announced ahead of time, but obviously I'm not listening to the commentary when I'm watching it live. So I felt very lost. And I could not understand why this was happening. And then you have Hangman. So you are teasing a little bit of a story here with Hangman and Mox, but they're fighting somebody else. Rush was in the ring with Brian last week. Like, why is he here now fighting these people? Blackpool Combat Club. They haven't really been a thing for a while. Like, we don't see them hanging out together all the time, right? And then Hangman gets attacked by, I don't even know who attacked him, Kip Sabian, as you said, because they're gonna have a match, but you announced it ahead of time. So there's just no, this didn't do it for me.
Zip.
This didn't do it for me.
Zip. That's the sound of the darts.
Yeah.
Yeah, Jimmy. Yeah, I mean, I agree a lot with, well, and really, Issa, if you, and I never even thought about that. I know you do the watch along. If you watch Dynamite without commentary, that's an even greater handicap because many times commentary has to,
Put it
they
together.
they have to catch things up for you because things are not as,
or do their best to.
yeah, yeah,
Yeah,
yeah,
it's a whole different experience, and I noticed that when I'm reading reviews or we're sitting here talking, you guys will catch me out on something where I'm like, when I was watching it, but I can't hear the commentary when I'm
Mhm.
talking over them. But regardless, it shouldn't be commentary's job. That should be announced ahead of time. I felt very lost, and it felt so all over the place, and you don't understand why they're fighting each other. And again, it's the same criticism that I have for match one. We have a pay-per-view in a few weeks. This does
Mhm.
nothing for anyone.
Right.
yeah. I'll say this because we're gonna get back to Mox. I'll get back to him when that time the show comes. Preston Vance, he also finds himself bleeding, and he's one that for the longest time when he was part of Dark Order, he was under a mask, and I always said like, this guy looks too good to be under a mask. Like, this guy needs to. So I do find it interesting that he's now on the heel side of things, unmasked, new kind of gimmick. He's he's got an alignment with Roosh. He's out there bleeding. Obviously. So I don't know. We'll see what they do with him, but I do like the fact that he's been detached from the Dark Order, and maybe there's potential to do something with him.
Yeah, but then again, it's the other things. Like I get that this was a Texas Tornado match, so anything goes. There's no disqualifications. Use weapons. But even weapons aren't enough to get a pinfall. They introduced the chain. They introduced this chain, and okay, they give the shot to Mox with the chain, the cover 1, 2, and he barely kicks out, and you can kind of go, well, you know what I mean. And then Claudio gets a hold of the chain and he's beating the living what out of Vance with it. He should be like being measured. You know what I mean? And then he gives him the giant swings after beating the living crap out of him with the chain. And yes, I know that his partner Roosh made the save on the pin attempt, but at the same time, 30 seconds later, Vance is up, no selling the stuff on offense. Sometimes stuff just doesn't make sense.
It goes back to that quality control question we ask. How many roll-ups do you need? How many times do you need to have people come from the back to attack the people that are outside of the ring? Or, you look at this match. If this is your first time tuning into Dynamite for the first time in weeks or months or whatever, you would think that that Preston Vance, attempted murder on John Moxley because you see the weapons, you see the blood. That this is the type of thing that usually is reserved for like a payoff to a feud, but this was
it meant nothing tonight. I get it. Yes, there was stuff going on, but when you see it every week, it's like it almost felt like Texas Tornado match. Okay, how long is it going to take? When's he going to do the deed? When is the blood going to show up? You know what I mean? You were expecting it. And it didn't mean much. Let's put it that way.
John Silver's uncle chimes in. He says, Moxley Super Bowl Gillette commercial, major miss.
Agreed.
Mm-hmm.
Funny.
That's good. That's pretty good. I like that. To the point where I wish I would have thought of it.
Yeah. Well, there's always next year with the Super Bowl, so anybody from Gillette hears this.
Right.
All right, so we'll get back to Moxley in a little bit here. We're going to revisit him and the issue with Hangman Adam Page. Up next, we get the advertised sit-down interview between Jim Ross and Wardlow, where the whole premise is about how Samoa Joe, of course, cut Wardlow's hair when Joe last beat him for the title. Excuse me, and Ross basically saying to Wardlow, obviously you got pretty close to Joe there for a while. This must have, there must have been some things that Joe learned that he's using against you.
Mm-hmm.
And Wardlow proceeds to tell a story. He says, yes, that is true. And Wardlow proceeds to tell the story about how he was close with his father until about 8. Then his father was out of his life. Then his father came back into his life briefly when Wardlow was adult, but unfortunately was at stage 4 cancer. Was able to see Wardlow do his first wrestling match, but then shortly thereafter passed away. And Wardlow notes how he said his final goodbyes, and this is what I'm going to do with my life and fulfill. And because of his dad's look, and they're showing old pictures and such. Wardlow decided to embrace grow the hair out, grow the beard out, embrace a look that somewhat similar to what his dad has, and that's the Wardlow we've all come to know on national TV. And so Joe cutting that hair it cuts a lot deeper than just what's on the surface. I'm just going to go ahead and say it. I mean, this, give me some story, give me some emotion. This is how it's done.
No, absolutely. I agree. Sorry to cut you off, Justin, but you're right. Now we're getting to know Wardlow, the person. And that's what it's about. You feel invested in the person, not just the fact that he's, that big guy over there. We started to get to know him. The only issue I had at the end of this was he's telling a great story. I'm getting, I'm listening to him and I'm going, wow, that's an amazing story that he was telling. And then he turned it into wrestling promo. You know what I mean? He switched it from being, insightful and giving us a personal look inside of him, Wardlow the man, and turned it into Wardlow the wrestler. I wish it would have stayed more, personal. Let's put it that way.
So, and Jimmy, that's a fair critique. That then almost translates into the critique you have oftentimes about the booking in the ring. They kind of, in a way, did it maybe not as egregiously, but did it in the promo, which is if they just sort of stopped here, but instead they try to pack a few more pounds of potatoes in when they could have just stopped a certain.
Yeah, just leave it at that, letting us know more about him, and he could say, you know what, and everything I do moving forward, I'm doing with my dad in my heart, or something like that. It didn't have to be, well, let me tell you something, brother, afterwards. That's how it felt.
Issa, how did this sit down with Wardlow come off to you?
Do you want me to be honest?
I'd hope so.
Too little, too late. You shouldn't have Wardlow tell us who he is. Tell us why he's doing this. Tell us why it means so much to him after he beat MJF at Double or Nothing. Not now, after you kept him off TV for a week and you have him coming back looking like a freaking car salesman, like a car insurance salesman. I'm sorry, I was wondering if my car warranty was out while the time he was talking about this. It's a fact. Yeah. You can't keep him off TV for a few weeks and attempt to hit the reset button and think it's gonna work. People are no longer invested. People are no longer interested in you having come back in the same feud he was involved in at the end of things. I like the story. I like the idea of adding something to it. We'll see where it goes. It felt like a promo, so I couldn't connect to it. I'm with you on that, Jimmy. And I can't help but to say it is too little too late. And I don't want to say that the hair made him, but it really does make a difference in the way that he comes off. And it doesn't have anything to do with the hair. You were doing that before that. You had him come out there looking like he was starring in a Hallmark Channel Christmas movie before you even cut the hair. Like, you killed this guy's momentum months ago. So you can't blame me for not being. And let me remind you that I used to think it was the hottest thing in AEW television, literally, by Double or Nothing. And now all that momentum is gone, and you're trying to grasp onto something to figure out how to bring it back. And I don't feel like this is the way to bring it back. Sorry.
No, well, they definitely lost some momentum with him. Obviously, we can go all the way back to the night where he's has his payoff match with MJF. And of course, MJF famously, I guess, has whatever going on backstage and leaves. But yeah, they
having
had
come back, if you're gonna cut his hair and take him off TV because of Samoa Joe, having come back and interrupt MJF. I get it. Yeah. He's involved in a storyline with Bryan. Then wait. You already waited to bring him back for this long. Wait until it counts, until it matters.
Yeah, I mean, they need to regain momentum. They had lightning in a bottle with him. I think him being off these last few weeks, I think, was due to injuries. I think that just unfortunately became a bad card that got dealt of, okay, we got to have Joe beat him or Wardlow's off TV. But I kind of agree. I don't know if I want to see him come back and get revenge on Joe, or if I just want to see him move on. But yeah, I
think about it. MJF has all this momentum. He's a heel. He's getting all this heat. This is the last guy to beat him before MJF goes on this run. Yeah. You really could regain that magic if you just brought him back at the right time, at the right moment. So, and just, and think about it. Like, MJF and the drama that happened with him, the real life drama, is really part of what killed Wardlow's momentum. So why not use that? And AEW loves using real life into the storylines. Why not use that?
Well, let's say, Lisa, let me ask you this: if so, obviously Wardlow and Joe are not done, so we're going to see a match between them here again. I don't know.
A rematch. because
I assume
it should be called rematch, not revolution. Rematch.
Mhm.
the rematch Revolution. So we're gonna get a rematch
Yeah.
between them two, probably at Revolution. If Wardlow comes in, beats Joe, and then let's hypothetically say that MJF retains and beats Bryan Danielson, also Revolution. If the next Dynamite, if the next thing is MJF saying, "Look, I beat your best in the world. I beat everybody. I beat everybody. I beat everybody," and then Wardlow comes out and says, "You haven't beat me." I mean, just on that, on paper, are you all of a sudden perked back up, interested again?
No, not if
No?
you don't show me Warlow up until that point. If you have Warlow come back for that, maybe. I mean, we just gotta see where it goes. But again, I will go back to hashtag too little, too late. You killed it, and now you're trying to regain something that you managed to kill off yourself. It's weird.
Mm-hmm. All right. Well, we'll see what comes of it. But that was again. I like the idea of what was going on here. Him using a real life story of of losing his father, unfortunately, and then tossing in the hair thing, and then as Jimmy said, the promo. But
Yeah.
Let me
we'll
ask
see.
you something. Do you think if you would have done it in video packages instead of having him become involved with Samoa Joe, if you would have done it in video packages, I know we're doing that with Hobbs right now, but do you think it would have been more efficient? Maybe for me, it would have been more efficient.
Yeah, there is an advantage of doing video packages in that you can do them in small sections. You don't need them to be that long, and make the anticipation. Is he
Right.
coming back? You know what I mean? So yeah, I can see the value in doing it that way.
Thank you.
Yeah, we'll see. I mean, and who knows? Maybe they have more of that. They'll do
Mhm.
in some form of a video package
Mhm.
with Wardlow. All right, up next we get Mark Briscoe versus Josh Woods. This little brief interaction they had earlier backstage. So you got Tony Nese is out there, Ari Daivari out there. They start attacking Mark Briscoe. Once again, here comes somebody to fight them off. Here comes the Lucha Brothers to
Yeah.
fight them off and chase them off.
With just a horrible ref distraction. I know I can't. I'm sorry. I keep harping on this thing, but it just looked bad because the ref was distracted for too long. It went on too long. Anyways,
Yep.
sorry, Justin. It just
Mm,
as a former striped shirt, it just bugs the living what out of me.
I mean, none of our mics are muted. You can talk whenever you want to talk. It's fine.
No,
We're
I just feel bad that I kind of jumped in and cut you off. That's all.
I'd rather you jump in and cut me off than there'd be dead air and you not have anything to say. So that's okay.
Cool.
It's okay. We see a pretty devastating corkscrew suplex from Woods to Briscoe off the apron to the floor. But finally, though, Mark Briscoe is going to get the win with an elbow from the top. Mark Briscoe, Issa, I know you told a great story when we were discussing the Briscoes and the passing of Jay. Mark Briscoe, he was really over tonight. This crowd was up and entertained by him. He's making his noise, doing his redneck kung fu, where he's doing all of his little huffing and puffing.
As he should be. As he should be.
The people really kind of have, and I'm sure there's a little bit of emotion that's on the side of it of like this is a feel good story, right? This guy just lost his brother suddenly and tragically a month ago, but this crowd in Laredo tonight, they were feeling Mark Briscoe.
You can't help but to. I think Mark Briscoe, regardless of everything that has happened in the last few weeks, such a lovable guy. The promos, you always see him be the comedian, like the comedic side to Jay Briscoe. Jay Briscoe was the more serious badass of the two, right? I always found Mark to be the lovable of the two, where Jay was the more scary, intimidating guy when they're doing their promos, right? And there's a part of us that really would have loved to see Jay be in AEW television. This is something that has gone back and forward for months. We heard about it. Obviously, if you watch the BTE that the Young Bucks did after Jay's passing, they talk about how they try to get the Briscoes here since they created AEW.
Mm-hmm.
So at this point, I feel like I'm not gonna sit here and ponder on why couldn't they do this when Jay was here. I'm gonna enjoy the fact that Mark is getting to do it for both of them. And I feel like maybe that's the way that we're all seeing it right now. In addition to that, I hear that he's a very he believes in his faith. And to see him come out there and do what he's doing right now and the charisma and still be doing all of that while he's probably suffering inside because he hasn't done this without his brother, there's nothing but respect. So even if you book him in a weird match where the Lucha Bros come out after we haven't seen him in weeks and you're like, why are they here? It doesn't matter. This is Mark Briscoe's moment and he's getting to shine for both himself and Jay. And I'm going to applaud and I'm going to be here for this. This is one of those parts of wrestling that are willing to suspend my disbelief, forget kayfabe, and just
Mhm.
support this guy until the end.
Bravo.
Jimmy, Mark Briscoe, he looks a little bit different. He works a little bit different,
Right.
but you can't deny when something feels authentic and that fans are reacting to it. And he certainly feels like he is just being the authentic version of who he is.
And that's the beauty of it. You when you see him in the ring, regardless of what he's doing, whether he's chattering during the match or whatever he's doing or whatever move he's performing, it feels like him. And that's and I hate to harp back on the Wardlow thing. He was when he was telling the story, it felt authentic, and then he went into wrestling mode. With Mark Briscoe tonight, it just felt like I'm watching a guy being him in the ring. And you're right, it felt authentic, it felt real. And to Issa's point, the suspension of disbelief, it makes it a lot easier. Let's put it that way. You can sit back and go, "This is what I want to see." I want to see Mark Briscoe. I don't want to see Mark Briscoe playing pro wrestler.
I like them. I always did. As soon as I was introduced to my first Briscoe's promo, I'll never forget. Thank you, Nick Hosman. I fell in love with this team. And I feel like they're so legit. And the way they came off to me, regardless of what happens, and just day one, right? I'm going to support them. I fell in love. And that's just something that I feel like everybody has. It comes out, the pop is there. And if you look at the ratings, quarterly, look at the first time you had him in the show and how the ratings did. I'm looking forward to see how we do here. People are here to support him.
Yeah, well, looks like we'll be seeing more of Mark Briscoe here on AEW and or Ring of Honor programming. Tina Miller, I'm sorry, Tina, you had she had sent this back when we were talking about the Texas tornado, I believe.
Yeah.
Just saying, why are you doing all that with someone you had zero beef with? It's crazy. It means nothing. Much love. I'm done ranting now. You're talking about Moxley and the chain and Preston Vance and yeah, I think Tina, we all agree with that.
The thing of it is, you could have read this super chat at the majority of this show, and it would have been fitting.
Yeah, pretty much. So squeezing it in now kind of fits as well.
Fair.
It's
fair.
the potatoes in the bag,
Yeah.
It's a lot of mashed potatoes. All right, we get a backstage, another sit-down interview. This one a little more lighthearted with Renee and Adam Cole. Adam's talking about, he's basically got the new lease on life, as they say. He's not dealing with all the mental, or not dealing with all the physical issues that he had been battling with his health. And the next chapter, he's going to return to the ring. It's a stacked roster. He's got his eye on some people that he might want to tangle it up with. Renee's trying to get him to spill the beans, but he won't. He has some prospects.
But he should have.
He's not ready to name.
The pay-per-view. He should have spilled the beans.
He's not ready. He's not ready to name names. Nope.
So what are we gonna do? Wait until the Rampage the night before the pay-per-view?
Hopefully not the Rampage. Let's put it that way.
No, that's what's gonna happen, Jimmy. You and I both know it.
Issa, I mean, I'd have to think that if he is medically cleared, I don't know this, but if he is
want him on
medically
the
cleared,
card. You want
then
him on
I
the
would
card.
think that and the fact that we have how many more Dynamites do we have before? 2 more Dynamites?
Two.
Yeah, I mean, I would think if it's not announced by next week, I don't think it's happening. I don't think he's having a match at Revolution.
That's the problem. If I have Adam, go ahead.
Or who they deem is the right return opponent for him is already in a match, and Cole's going to make his presence felt after their said match at Revolution.
Right.
I mean, we haven't seen Cole since Forbidden Door. If he is medically clear, I will want to set the match and build up some kind of feud. I was waiting for somebody to interrupt this. I was waiting for him to drop some names so that way we could see who responds next week. If this is the case, it's going to be a 1-week feud. If you're right, and maybe he's not all the way there, then maybe he does interrupt the match. We'll see where it goes.
Yeah.
But great promo, though.
Yeah.
Great promo.
No, very good. He's a great talker, and like you said, hopefully he's able to tell his story, because I love the way that he mentioned that when he was talking to Renee, that he's ready to continue his story and his journey. And he put over the roster huge. He put over the company huge, which is what you're supposed to do. But he did it in a way that you talked about sounding authentic. It sounded like he believed what he was saying.
Yeah, and the things that he said in the first promo when he came back and tonight about the things that he went through, He's such a good talker, and you know that this wasn't an easy journey for him. It makes you want to root for him. And I do believe we need to build some baby faces in AEW right now, because what's going to happen if MJF retains? Where is he going to go after Revolution?
Well,
We need to build some baby faces here.
All right, so that was going to be my question, and I'll ask you both because I think all three of us are big Adam Cole fans. But let me ask you this: prior to him getting injured, despite the crowd reaction and being there, Adam Cole, baby, and all the stuff, he was on the heel side of the fence. We've talked about that. They tried to play into that, rightly or wrongly. They did. He's back. He's clearly talking and speaking as if he's on the babyface side of things. Is it okay if he doesn't have a match at Revolution because his next feud is he targets MJF, or is that too much of a rush for babyface Adam Cole? Does he need to get a few wins and feuds as babyface Cole before he challenges and provokes MJF?
That's a good question.
I think I will be okay with that if he comes out and we have a little bit of a stare down. If you think about it, we have a Iron Man match and a last man standing match. This could possibly be 2 hours in just 2 matches. So maybe I am okay sacrificing an Adam Cole match here for a bigger purpose, right? So we'll see. I if you're building him to be credible against MJF, should MJF retain here, which is what I'm assuming is gonna happen, I'm okay with that.
Jimmy, I feel like there's something there. There's a subtext, and AEW loves to make references to New York and to WWE and to the competition, and obviously MJF leans into that as well. Basically talking about Bruce Pritchard's his best friend, and he's going there in 2024. I feel like there is something there. Adam Cole, he was the face of NXT for a time. I feel like there is a subtext of like Adam Cole, babyface Adam Cole, challenging verbally MJF and saying, you do all this talk about where you're, where you're going to go. I don't even know if you even have what it takes to make it there. I don't know. I feel like there might be something there of you using the fact that Adam Cole has been to the competition, albeit it was NXT basically, but I don't know. I wonder if they're kind of doing in some ways the same thing with Bryan Danielson.
Yeah, it's all in the presentation and how it is presented to the audience, and if the audience buys in. Like we're going to talk about the big promo segment right after this. I'll save it for then. How's that? Remind me, and I will save it for then.
I will remind you. Make a note of it so you don't forget. Yeah. All right. So up next we get MJF, who's contractually obligated to appear in Laredo, Texas tonight. He comes out. He hates he hates Bryan Danielson because Bryan Danielson has all these people convinced that he's better than MJF. He mocks Bryan Danielson being there for the 5-star banger matches, and the reality is MJF has the world title. That's what you're here for. You're not here to hit the heart. You're here to be champion and to work. He says Brian's gonna pull everything he's learned from every continent and country around the world that he's wrestled in. He's going to give MJF his toughest match, but it's still not going to be enough. MJF's going to be champion. MJF then brings out somebody who knows Bryan Danielson from his entire career. He brings out the fallen angel, Christopher Daniels, who Daniels immediately rats out MJF and shows an envelope of money that MJF had paid him, wanted him to just run Bryan Danielson into the ground, but Daniels won't do that. He says the fact is Bryan Danielson is going to kick your dick in the dirt. He proceeds to say that if there's no Bryan Danielson, there's no Ring of Honor. If there's no Ring of Honor, there's no AEW. And if there's no AEW, there's no MJF. The two men get a little agitated. Daniels slaps MJF. MJF then kicks him in the balls and applies the armbar salt of the earth finisher before Bryan comes out and runs him off. So Jimmy, go ahead here and give me your reaction on this one.
No, I enjoyed it. I thought it was a great promo segment, and it's funny how we get a long, good promo segment after a couple of weeks of very good ones we saw on the other guys. It just goes to show you that at least they're learning that this is the kind of stuff that draws an audience in. What we saw tonight, I enjoyed very much. I enjoyed the promo segment. I enjoyed, you talk about feeling authentic. You know that Christopher Daniels and Bryan Danielson are good buddies, and he won't throw him under the bus for any amount of money, which was kind of like a cool little side thing. But at the same time, MJF just came off like such a total dick after this thing. Which is going to be in the dirt.
which is going to be in the dirt come
Which,
Revolution, by the way.
well, would have been in the dirt, but apparently he put the shoe on the other foot when it came. Oh no, that's a bad. But you know what I mean, and it, you know, with Danielson coming out to make the save and him powdering and the whole bit, it just worked. I think it really worked.
Yeah. Issa, you're an MJF fan. Did this do what it needed to do for you?
Wait. I got it right here.
There you go. This is why you got to be watching the video. All you people out there in audio land, you got to be watching Issa with her MJF scarf and the rest of her wardrobe.
I thought it went on a little too long for my liking. I will say there was something about this that I like, and it was the fact that he brought out Christopher Daniels, and he was the one who did the good talking about Brian. Because when MJF on the beginning, before he brought out Daniels, I was like, don't talk about Brian like that. Like use something else, but don't tell me that he's not good, that he's not worthy when we know what Brian can do. Like it bothered me until he brought out Daniels, and Daniels played the whole "you pay me," but I'm not gonna do that because I respect Daniel Bryan's son. I still can't say his name, so I'm just gonna stick with Brian. Because for a second there, I was like, somebody has to put Brian over here. Like, we all know Brian is good. That's not something that can be hit no matter who he's facing. So I like that. I did think it went on for a little too long, but it is MJF's job to get that heat, to get that hate from the crowd. And he did that. They didn't want to hear anything he had to say. As a businessman, MJF is a horrible businessman. He keeps paying these people ahead of getting the job done, and that's just not how it works. Like, MJF, call me, buddy. Let me help you out with this. Like, you're setting yourself up for failure.
Well, for all we know, it was just a deposit. It might not.
It doesn't matter. It doesn't matter. Look what he came out and did. And Daniels is an idiot too for giving the money back. I wouldn't.
Can I just throw something out there? And maybe I know you said it felt to you that it went a little long. I was okay with the length of it because it felt meaningful and to lead up to this, the match at the pay-per-view. But at the same time, at the end, when this segment was over, they didn't let it breathe. They didn't let it marinate. They didn't let the audience absorb what they just saw. You know, when I keep talking about 20 pounds of potatoes in a 10-pound bag, as soon as this segment ended, they should have said, "Oh, ladies and gentlemen, we'll be right back after this." Go to a commercial so that people could kind of, rethink what they just saw and try and remember what they saw instead of going right to the next segment and just saying, "Okay, hey, this was great, but next."
I do love that point of view because you are right. If it's going to be the most meaningful thing, we've been just a little bit critical about how a lot of this didn't mean anything. So this is a one segment for the only match up to this point that you have set up for the pay-per-view. Yes, let it take its time, but at the same time, let it breathe. And maybe that's why it felt that way to me, because we kind of like kept going, and it got lost in the shuffle.
Let's talk about this. Obviously, we're still a few weeks away, but when we can make our official predictions on the final Dynamite before, but these two guys, Brian Danielson and MJF, are going to go 60 minutes in an Iron Man match.
Can't wait.
You say Iron Man match, my mind immediately goes to the first one I ever saw, which was Bret and Shawn at Mania 12. And those guys had such a story. I mean, there was the video package leading up to it, and blah 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 blah. Never mind the real life stuff. Like, I'm really curious, like how, and I'm curious because this is an Iron Man match under an AEW roof, and so much of the theme of our critiques on the things we don't like about AEW is the redundancy of this is how they get rid of the extra people outside the ring. This is how they protect everybody, and they do these roll-ups. Nobody's finisher finishes anything, and the ref distractions, and in an Iron Man match, a ref distraction, and if there's a like DQs and countouts, those are decisions. Those actually could count for some. So I'm have you given any thought to how the hell they're going to pull this off, and what kind of quality control will they put into the effort of these two guys have to go an hour? They're likely going to be the last match, so you're going to have seen however many matches prior. Like, I am somewhat fascinated. I don't know if I'm fascinated because I'm going to see a work of art, or if I'm fascinated because I'm slowing down to see the car wreck on the shoulder. But I'm fascinated to see how this comes out.
I am too. And if you're putting the pencil in my hand, you tell me what you think of this idea. This is trying to think outside the box, come up with something unique and original and different, where the heel champion comes out of this retaining the title, but the babyface looks super strong. This is an Iron Man match, which means most falls or decisions in an hour. Whoever gets them wins the match. Now, let's say we go 35, 40 minutes, and Daniel Bryan is up maybe 3-1 in falls against MJF. And the one that MJF got, maybe it was an accidental DQ or a count out or something like that, whatever the case may be. What if during the course of the match, as it continues, somehow MJF gets that ring, knocks out Bryan Danielson for that knockout punch, covers 1, 2, 3. Now it's 3-2. And Bryan Danielson is out. And Doc Samson comes in the ring. And all of a sudden he says, hey, he can't continue this match. There's no way, I'm not clearing him to continue this match. So now we're 45 minutes in. There's still 15 minutes left of the match. And because he couldn't finish the match and MJF was still, good to go, he retains the title, even though he's down 3-2 and falls or something like that.
Well,
So it doesn't have to be the ring, but somehow he gets knocked out of the match and can't continue for medical reasons. Let's put it that way.
I mean, that would be protecting Bryan in the ultimate way, especially given that we all know Bryan's, we had to retire at one point.
Mm-hmm.
That's a hell of an idea. I definitely agree with you. Before you even said that, one of the things that I was married to in my mind was, ding, 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 bell rings, or whether you do this out the gate or whether at some point, MJF just does the most blatant thing that's going to cause a DQ, which will cause a point for Bryan, but it's something that gets a DQ.
That gets him like completely taken out and allow him to get a pin. That's what I had in my mind.
Whether it's a brutal headshot, whether it's a ball shot, he does something that it's like he sacrificed going down one because he knows he's going to cash in way more than that off of stuff.
That's where my brain was at on this as well. But I do want to see MJF being able to keep up with Bryan. I do think that MJF, because he's so good at his job, he's so good at being a heel, he's so good on the stick. I think that a lot of times we don't talk about his wrestling, and he's pretty good at it. And if somebody can make anybody look good, even a broomstick, it's Bryan. So while I never in my brain said, oh my God, I can't wait to see MJF in an Iron Man match, you did put him in that stipulation against the right person.
Well, and we'll wrap this up now on this promo conversation. But the funny thing is, MJF, he's doing it all in the heel voice and whatever, in the heel character. But there is some weird truth to what he's saying in the sense of, yes, Bryan Danielson is known for 5-star bangers. He's entertaining. And I don't deny it. I mean, I will make the argument Bryan Danielson is potentially one of the best bell-to-bell wrestlers today. But MJF is basically also trying to say there's that, and there's those fans. He goes, and then there's a different kind of way to work, like not having to bust my ass like that, but you still get the job done. You still are entertaining. You still get the reaction, and you still become champion. Without saying it in so many words, he's peeling the curtain back a little bit, saying, you type of fans love him for his 5-star, internet fandom, but that's not what this is. That's not what this business was built on. So there's some interesting dynamics that are that are at play there. So a lot to look forward to. I mean, for me, that is the match that the most look forward to right now for Revolution, which I guess is a good thing. It is the main event. So props there. All right, let's move on. Jungle Boy versus Brian Cage. Poor Brian Cage. He can't get in. Here's what puts in perspective of somebody like me who only watches Dynamite. I will read about what happened or whatever, but Dynamite's what's in my memory, and that's what we do this. They're talking about how Brian Cage has one of the best singles records in the company this year, and yet all I can think about is that I've just seen him lose on Dynamite. He can't get a victory on Dynamite. Jungle Boy beats him. Oh, by the way, a hit to the back of the head. He rolls Brian Cage up. And then afterwards, Christian Cage, we haven't seen him in months. He's in a sling. Jungle Boy approaches him, charges him. Christian Cage maces to Jungle Boy's eyes, and then reveals the sling is not needed. The arm is fine, and hits the kill switch. Engage. So Jimmy, your Canadian partner, Christian Cage, back, and they're continuing him and Jungle Boy.
Yeah, it looks that way. And Christian is a master. He knows how to get heat, and he did it tonight. And he came out with the sling, and of course that was a ruse and the whole bit, and the spray, and then the kill switch on the stage. I just like you, yes. As much as I enjoyed the heel version of Christian, I'm feeling so bad for Cage right now. It just, you know what I mean?
I gotta imagine he's on his way out. That's all I can figure here.
That's it. And I get trying to build up Jungle Boy because he is over with that audience, but at the same time, it just doesn't feel like they're protecting Cage at all.
Issa, I'm pretty sure that you could get a three count on Brian Cage right now
with a roll.
Yeah,
with a roll up.
I'm pretty sure everybody can. The sad thing is, not only did he lose here, he was just a setup guy to set up the real story, which is Christian Cage coming back against Jungle Boy. We talked about Wardlow losing momentum. Christian Cage getting injured really probably screwed up a little bit the story of where they were going with Jungle Boy. And I'm glad that he's back. But Jungle Boy was over here hanging out with Hook a week ago. And now all of a sudden, forget about that. Let's put him in this match with Brian Cage so that we can bring Christian back.
Well, he cut a promo. He did cut a promo a few wherever last few weeks and said like he's done the tag team thing. He wants to go singles. He wants to win singles gold. So they did at least give explanation of why he's not going to pal around with Hook anymore. And it was on Dynamite too. So I'll give him that.
Okay, fine, but I don't pay attention to everything that happens. Anyway,
I know you were probably taking a shot on your watch along. I was just filling it in.
I probably was, but regardless, I'm excited to see Christian back because I literally asked, I'm like, where has Christian been? Like, it feels like that story kind of like took a weird turn with Jungle Boy. Now we're back to where we needed to be. Hopefully, Christian is healthy and can stay healthy to put the finish to that story so that we can move on with whatever we're doing with Jungle Boy. I hate having to suspend with disbelief to try to think that Jungle Boy can beat these guys. It happened a Full Gear with Luchasaurus. I just can't do it, and it happened again. Yay!
Yeah, Jimmy. I mean, is Christian Cage versus Jungle Boy? Is that another match for Revolution, or is Revolution? Is the card going to have to be slimmer because you have one match that's dedicated to an hour already? I mean, what do you think?
No, I mean, you could technically have it there, but at the same time, you run the risk of overloading this card because you do have that 1 hour match. And you've got some other,
They put 15 matches on these pay-per-views. What are you talking about overloading? That's what they do.
Well, yeah, there we go with the 20 pounds again. But anyway,
what I do.
I mean, this is a match. This should build a little bit more. Should have been given more than 2 weeks, anyways. Let's put it that way.
Well, we got another match that's ultimately going to get made here after we get a match. So we get Kip Sabian versus Hangman Page. Of course, we mentioned earlier Sabian, Butcher, and Blade jump Page. Hangman comes out. He makes quick work of Kip Sabian. He hits him with this the Deadeye finisher, gets the pinfall victory. After that, Mox, Claudio Wheeler, they come out. Mox says he doesn't think there's any unfinished business here with Hangman Page. He thinks he's done. He thinks that there's no chance in hell that Hangman could even try to beat him if they had a match again. Page says that a roll-up is not the end of their story. It's not how it ends. He said it ends at Revolution. Mox says, man, I figured you'd be out here by yourself, no friends, nobody to talk you into not making a bad decision. And just as he says that, Dark Order comes out. Evil Uno gets all buck and steps up to Moxley, says he's not afraid. Hangman doesn't like that the Dark Order's out there. Ultimately, though, Moxley challenges Hangman Page to a match at Revolution, challenges him to a Texas death match.
So basically, what we got was a match to set up a match, a different match at the pay-per-view.
The same thing that we just saw. The same thing that we just saw from Brian Cage and Jungle Boy back to back. You put Hangman Page in the ring with Kip Sabian just to set up a different match.
Mm-hmm. Exactly.
Texas death match.
Mm-hmm.
Explosions, I hope.
No. Don't get carried away now.
I wonder if there's going to be blood in this match.
Come on, absolutely not. First of all, did you guys not think it was funny when he said a roll-up can't finish this story? A roll-up finishes everything in professional wrestling nowadays. What are you talking about?
That's why I wrote it down in big old letters and I put LOL with a bubble around it. And I
Yeah,
just,
there you go.
like it's almost like he was trolling the rest of the locker room.
Yeah.
Oh,
Yeah.
go
What
ahead,
is it?
Jimmy.
No. What is the most successful finishing move in all of professional
The
wrestling?
most devastating.
Devastating move in professional wrestling. The schoolboy roll up. Yeah, the
Yep.
roll up. Yeah.
Yeah. Another thing is like Evil Uno has never stepped up to anybody. So why did he choose for it to be John Moxley? Like, I'm sorry. Like,
Well, you're gonna find out because next week Evil Uno takes on John Moxley.
Mm-hmm.
yeah.
And watch, you're gonna be thinking of Evil Uno is gonna make John Moxley bleed next week. I'm calling it.
Oh my goodness. You know what? He's gonna gimmick his mask. He's gonna slide something in there and headbutt, and there you go.
Evil Uno is gonna make John Moxley bleed next week.
Yeah.
You heard it here first.
Mm-hmm.
All right, main event time. Let's get to the main event. Main event. The women in the
Who
main
was
event.
in the main
Wait.
event 2 weeks in a row now, Jimmy? How do you feel about that?
I am pleasantly surprised. Let's put it that way.
The main event.
They still
Tony's-
only got 10 minutes. They still
Yes.
only got
Yeah.
10 minutes, but at least they have gotten their 10 minutes on different spots in the show for the last
Mhm.
2 weeks.
Mhm.
Yeah, and there was parts that felt rushed. They had to do the
Mhm.
picture-in-picture, go to commercial to get the last break in, but there was parts that felt rushed. But so we got it's triple threat. Tony Storm coming out with Saraya. They see a DMD fan. They attack her, rip up her sign. Ruby Soho comes out. She like doesn't necessarily save the fan, but she's kind of like trying to back off
Mhm.
Tony and Saraya. The whole story throughout here is Ruby Soho's kind of torn. She's been put in the middle of a lot of different situations here of whose side is she on. Here comes Britt. Britt's got Jamie Hayter with her. Eventually, Saraya and Hayter are going to get involved. Hayter coming to the defense. Saraya comes in. She attacks Britt. She spray paints Tony Storm's ass with the L, and then Tony Storm does the hip attack, trying to put the spray paint on.
What
Britt.
was
It
the
didn't
point
work.
in that? What was
It didn't
what? Okay, all right, just making sure.
On paper, it's actually a very clever idea, but if you do a run through, that's not going to work. It didn't work.
Right.
Anyways, ultimately though, so Tony does she does a hip attack to Britt, so Britt's now dazed. But then Ruby really comes in. Ruby disposes of Tony, and then Ruby's able to roll up Britt, and Ruby gets the victory. Then Ruby is standing in between Saraya and Jamie Hayter, and she's screaming for this to stop and whatever. And she's conflicted. She's been pulled apart in a lot of different ways. And that's your Dynamite.
Question for you, really quickly here: Is Ruby supposed to be the babyface here?
I don't know.
I have no idea either, because it definitely wasn't a babyface finish.
Nope.
Where she took advantage.
She took advantage. Yeah, right.
That's a great point, Jimmy. That's a great
Yeah.
point. But maybe they're trying to play with the idea of she a heel, she a face. Which team is she gonna go with?
Right, but it didn't endear me to her.
No, they're not.
more,
I'm
that's
giving
for
them
sure.
too much credit. They're not thinking that much.
I just you have momentum that was squandered with Wardlow at a time. You have Adam Cole's momentum was just squandered by poor, unfortunate timing with injury. Britt over like Rover. I mean, Britt out there, she gets one of the best reactions. Mark Briscoe, heat reaction for MJF. I mean, in terms of eliciting response, Britt's got it. She's coming out the babyface side of the tunnel now. I mean, like they've recognized that she's, I don't know what they're trying to do. The Tony Storm Saraya thing, both talented ladies. We saw that piss poor Bush League promo last week when they were trying to NWO spray paint Leva Bates or whatever. They got brutalized online. It was terrible. And then this nobody feels, other than Britt, nobody feels like they're stars or I understand what they're there for or doing or just.
And you know what the sad thing is that they keep having Britt take all of these spins for nothing because they're not building anybody. Britt Baker is the only one that feels like a star, and you have everybody pinning her for the last year, and he's done nothing for nobody.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, everybody pinning her, but yet the fans still care the most about her. So that's
of course. Why wouldn't they? She has it.
Mm-hmm. She exudes stardom.
It.
Mm-hmm. All right. Well, that was AEW Dynamite from Laredo, Texas. As we are approaching AEW Rematch Revolution coming to you on Saturday, March 5th.
Yeah.
So that's that. That's that. That's Dynamite tonight. Coming on. I know Friday night we have what? Friday night after SmackDown. Glenn.
Rampage
Alfred,
will be earlier.
Yes,
Yeah,
it's 7
Rampage is
p.m.
gonna be on at like 7 or something.
Yes,
leading
7
into the NBA All-Star game. So let's see what happens there.
Same thing. That always
See what happens
happens.
there.
Nobody watches. Anyways,
Right.
yeah.
All right, Friday. East, are you on Fridays? Are you Glenn and Alfred?
Yeah. Yeah,
Mhm.
the other trio. But you guys know
And-
I love you. Just don't tell them. I love you too.
We won't tell them. And then Saturday
Hey,
after
Fred.
Elimination Elimination Chamber, myself, Jimmy, Issa, is it with you?
Yeah, it's me.
All right, there we go.
All right, we're back.
So this threesome is back on Saturday night after Elimination Chamber. Oh, that sounded weird. This your Wednesday night crew is back Saturday night after Elimination Chamber in Montreal. So it should be a fun.
With all the potatoes and all the bags.
all the potatoes, all the roll-ups, all it's all gonna be. We're bringing.
I'm
it all
excited
Saturday.
for Elimination Chamber, you guys. I know this is the
Right.
Dynamite
Me
pod.
too.
I
Yeah.
think the card is stacked, and I cannot wait to sit down and watch it.
I wish I was there live, not only to see the show, but to hit that my favorite smoked meat place that I go to in Montreal. But anyway.
Why are you going, Jimmy?
No,
Is that like a long ways from you? I
Well,
know Canada's
it's-
huge.
well, it's about a 5-hour drive. let's put it
Okay.
that way.
Okay.
Is that a Pat Patterson get the smoked meat from Montreal?
Yeah, from
Yeah.
from Schwartz's, or as Pat would call it, go to Schwartz and get the smoked meat.
But you get to enjoy some great wrestling and discuss it with us afterwards, Jimmy. That is almost as good as your smoked meat.
That's the reason why I'm not going.
That's cap.
But,
Totally
oh,
cap.
Speaking of which, I bet I've told this story because the night before the screw job in Montreal, we were in line late at night because this place is packed,
Right.
to get a smoked meat sandwich, the night before. And so we're like maybe 6 people from the door now, ready to get our sandwiches. And I'm there with, of course, Chimmel and the crew. And all of a sudden we hear this familiar voice behind us going, "Oh, look at this motley crew up here. Ha, 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 ha."
No.
Yeah, and it was Vince with Gerald and Pat and everybody, and we go, "Oh, hey, Vince, we got your spot saved right up here." Like, just and he's going, "No, you don't have. No, wait, put right here." You know what I mean?
Roughly what year would this be? Because it's funny to think about Vince. I mean, I have like this vision of Vince standing. The bars just closed at 2, and Vince is standing in line for a taco truck or a smoked meat truck. Out
What
with
year,
the rest
what
of the
year
drunk.
was the screw job? What year was the screw job?
Oh, 97.
Oh,
so-
was this after the screw job? He just like didn't
No,
care
before
when-
it, before
okay.
it, the night before.
Oh
The
my
night before.
God, that is
Yeah.
so funny that you're so unbothered that you're getting smoked meat sent. Oh, what a legend.
Yeah.
What a legend.
And it was almost midnight too, so he was up late.
I relate. Hashtag
Wow.
unbothered.
That's awesome. Oh, that's tremendous. So,
Yeah.
So Pat, I think we're gonna screw Brett as soon as Sean applies a sharpshooter. We're gonna make sure.
What
we
did
ring
they
the bell.
plan this
Hey, can
while eating this? Like, that's crazy, right?
Oh, can you imagine?
Hey, can I get a?
Yeah.
you got any ribeye here that I like?
Yeah,
I have so many things so many crazy stories in my head just based on Vince planning this while eating his. Oh, that's incredible! Thank you, Jim.
There's a story. I don't remember where it's at. It's probably his podcast, I guess. There's a story. Like again, everybody knows. Vince loves ACDC. Vince loves a good steak. There's a story of Chris Jericho tells of he'd been trying to get a hold of Vince, and he wanted to. I don't know if it was pitch an idea or he wanted to debunk an idea or try to improve an idea, but he wanted to talk to Vince. And he finally gets to Vince. It's either Vince's office or it's Vince's limo. It's one of the two. But he's in a private setting with Vince, and Vince just has this steak that he's eating and chomping at, and Jericho, I guess, is like really in earnest trying to give his feelings to Vince, and Vince is just bad cow and just critiquing the steak, just kind of no selling what Chris is talking about, and I just.
That's amazing.
Tremendous.
It's like puts in perspective. Don't stand in the way of the man and his meat.
Right.
Oh,
I mean, that sounded so wrong.
Stop.
Anyways.
Mhm.
All right, that's it. That's done. Final plugs. Go ahead, Issa. Go ahead.
You guys can find me at NYC Demon Diva on Instagram, Twitter, YouTube. We're like this close to 20,000 subscribers, so you guys can go and subscribe. You can find me here on Tuesday, Wednesdays, and Fridays, and you can find me on Lucha Libre Online for all my interviewing and content en español.
Jimmy, give me your plug, but do it in Espanol, please.
I wish I could. I can't. Unfortunately, I can't even do it in French, even though Canada is a two-language country. You could find me here on Mondays and Wednesday nights. And, of course, this Saturday night after Elimination Chamber, the three of us will be back then as well. And you can catch me on all my social media platforms doing my ref and rants, where I have a little fun critiquing this industry that I love so much. And, again, just to have a little fun, not to tear down, but to help tighten screws, so to speak. And every once in a while, you can see me, making something to eat on my social media platforms too.
I love it. I didn't realize you had an Instagram, and I follow you on Instagram. I'm a big fan of the content, Jimmy. Keep it up.
Yeah, I appreciate it. Thank you.
Jimmy's a ref, a chef, and a Greek screwdriver. He tightens the screws.
Ref to chef,
make sure,
ref to chef, my favorite.
Ref to chef. Make sure, again, if you listen to this podcast, please leave 5-star ratings, leave comments, reviews, anything you can do. All that engagement helps. A lot of things we're hoping to do and plan on this big year that is for the Wrestling Podcast. Follow me at Justin LaBar on all the socials, Twitter, Instagram, all the things. Friday morning, I'm on Busted Open Radio with the crew there on channel 156 on Sirius XM. I'll be giving my final predictions for Elimination Chamber Saturday.
So you predict that Sammy dies, basically? Yes? Okay.
Don't tweet me asking. Tune into Busted Open. I'll give you my final predictions there. Then Saturday night, yes, we will be back live after Elimination Chamber, the three of us, with what is going to be, no doubt, is going to be a newsworthy Elimination Chamber. It is the last stop on the road to WrestleMania. So make sure you bookmark, subscribe, whatever you got to do to make sure you don't miss us live Saturday night or listen to us on Sunday after the fact. Thanks to everybody. Wonderful chat room here tonight. Be kind, be good, everybody. Thanks to my wonderful co-hosts. I love doing the Wednesday night show with these two. And you know the deal.